Hello everyone, I'm here today to explain a little bit more about what is it all about, this blanket rezoning happening in the city of Calgary. Calgary's blanket rezoning and a housing strategy is a hot topic today. Many of us have received this letter to the mail inviting us to participate in a public hearing on rezoning matters. The information distributed by city officials is too simplified, and I know that many of you watching this said, "Hey, I got this letter but I don't get it." In this video, I will explain what is it all about. The primary reason for the city to do this is to address the rising cost of housing. Will that be achieved? Well, I will speak about it at the very end. The zoning that only allow single and semi-detached homes will now be zoned as RCG, RG or HGO. It might sound very complicated, but I will explain. That will also make it easier and legal to build various types of homes. This includes single detached, semi-detached, row houses and townhouses. I will explain each of these new zonings and what they mean particularly later in this video. First, let's start with a short history of these changes. In September 2014, there was a public hearing in RCG zoning. In October 2022, the City Council approved two new residential land use districts that allow for much more crowded conditions than existed in the neighborhoods today. Up to 10 units can be built on a lot where only one home with up to 2 units could be built before, and approval will be automatic without community engagement. In June 2023, Calgary's Housing and Affordability Task Force recommended zoning the entire city under one and the new land use rules. Well, City Council initially voted 8-7 against these and 17 other task force recommendations, objecting it to all or nothing format to the motion. But the council reversed its vote the following day, and now recommendation will be debated separately in September. That was a swift move, making me ask what was happening behind the closed doors at the first place. The city officials have put "not in my backyard" label on those who express opinions contrary to what the city council proposes, although that's a very familiar tactic that was used by those in power to discount contrary viewpoints, as we have seen throughout many years. Fast forward to September 2023. Council approved the Home is Here, the City of Calgary housing strategy from 2024 to 2030, with the opposition by many Calgarians follow. It was pushed forward after the federal housing ministers threatened the city. The Fed said if the affordable housing strategy is not approved, the city will not receive $228 million from the federal housing program. As the party of the agreement, city will be required to build an additional 6,825 housing units by 2027 and 35,950 new units by 2023. I know that sounds crazy, and I don't think that city will ever be able to deliver on this promise. And dividing $228 million per all of those units, that is $6,342 per unit. And as we witnessed many times, the cost to administer the program takes a good chunk of that money. So what is left might be enough to buy appliances for each unit, but no way to get them built. January 2024. In-person and online information sessions started. The opposition to those changes had grown even stronger as people became more aware of them. In March this year, several councillors wanted city residents to voice their opinion on a plebiscite on the next year's municipal election. The motion was defeated 6-8, and now the City of Calgary has set public hearing for April 22nd. It is in-person hearing, registration to speak is required, and every speaker will have a few minutes to give their feedback. It is Monday morning, and it seems that our council is making it a little bit more difficult. How many people is going to take a day off, go to downtown to spend whatever time to give the feedback that might be simply dismissed? In my opinion, such a big change should be left to Calgarians to decide and vote for. What changes are proposed and what they mean to you? Well, essentially, making the blanket zoning for single-family homes, duplexes, townhouses remove the public hearing discussion if a developer wants to rezone from one zone to another. Well, they will still need to go through the development permit process. I will start with the area that will have the lowest impact. Most of the new communities already have RG zoning. If you live in one of those newer communities in Calgary, you probably won't see many dramatic changes. Currently zoned as R1, which is one dwelling, R1N, which is a single dwelling on a narrow lot or a often zero-line lot, and R2, single dwelling that allows a legal suite, now be all zoned as RG. The changes means that the lots previously zoned for only one dwelling and one dwelling on a narrow lot would be zoned to allow secondary suites. Also, in the new and upcoming communities, it allows developers to build whatever they deem appropriate. So the change number 1 was change to RG zoning. Change number 2, in older and inner city communities, the proposed change is more significant. The current single family zoning would be changed to RCG. As we know, inner city lots are much larger, about 50 feet wide or even bigger. It would allow to build 4 units with a potential for each unit to have a legal suite, making it a total of 8 with a low minimum parking requirement. That would be allowed on a corner lots and mid lots in some special circumstances. So you will see row townhouses start popping up in those communities. That will be a huge difference that will change the landscape and the feel of inner city Calgary. Residents of those communities are for a good part opposed to these changes. So change number 1, change zoning in a newer community to RG. Change number 2, changing inner city community zoning to RCG. And let's talk about third change. And the third change affects the residents of North Hill communities, Wexbrook communities and Heritage communities. There are sections planned to be zoned as HGO. HGO land use zoning is not considered low density or high density, it is simply grade oriented housing. So this means that an HGO zone has no density maximum, but rather requirements that must be met that limit development, such as parking minimums, units accessibility directly from the grade, height restrictions and setback restrictions. HGO can offer different creative solutions to housing and may support different alternatives to the idea of housing. The affordability crisis is a prime example, with city claiming that the proposed zoning changes are urgently needed to help resolve the crisis. However, the assumption those changes will make housing more affordable is unfounded. Neither city officials or federal officials provided any study to support the claim. But if you research a little bit yourself, Patrick Cordon, professor and chair of urban design at the University of British Columbia, has published a great article about this topic. He observed that the commonly accepted theory of supply and demand has been undercut by the observed reality. In other words, no matter how much a metropolitan adds new housing units, housing prices rise. Rather, cities should be acknowledging, examining and addressing the social economic factors that result in ever-increasing housing prices and rents. Considering the experience from other cities that have done this, it seems like that rezoning will not make housing more affordable. Infill lots will become more expensive after rezoning. Developers will build, of course, for profit and altogether increase the prices of new homes. Yes, they will build cheaper units relative to the price of a single-family homes, but they will not make townhouses more affordable, but probably even more expensive. But the time will show. I'm in Ward 12 and our ward councillor has done a terrible job consulting with the residents. To be more precise, he has done absolutely nothing to get our opinion before making the vote. Maybe he will write a blog about it. The impact of Ward 12 will be small, considering the impact that will have on other wards and other communities. I think this matter should be given to Calgarians to decide. I hope this video provides a little bit more clarity what the zoning changes are about. If you have any questions, please let me know in the comments below.